Hi, I'm Jack Hathaway, and welcome to Conversation Corner. How are you, Jim?
I'm good.
I'm joined by Jim Lehan.
Good, Jack. Thank you. We're off to a good start.
This is getting easier. So we're here in July, or at least it feels like July outside. So anyway, we are at the end of September, but it's a beautiful day outside, and here we are to talk about town business for about 20 minutes or so.
Been a while.
It has been a while,
been a
so
while.
It's good to be back in the chair. So we'll start off, I guess, as a reminder to people that we have a town meeting coming up, special town meeting, November 14th, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not mistaken.
We're at the junior high school,
Yep.
and I think we have about 20, maybe 23 items on the agenda, if you count all the, the placeholders and
Yep.
all those things. But the big ones are some capital items. And then I think we have a petition article to review the stretch code again. So this will be the third time with that consideration. So it should be a good town meeting.
Yeah, we actually discussed not having a town meeting, but as it turns out, we've had more than we expected.
Yeah.
Stretch code will be an interesting discussion. Certainly issues on both sides of that,
Yeah.
and it'll be a good, healthy discussion.
Yeah. No, I think the group is working hard on improving the education, process to the to the advisory board and to and at the end of the day to the town meeting. So that should be.
Yeah. I mean, philosophically, I don't think any of us would argue with the need to do things more efficiently and at lower costs and to take the environment into effect, and all of those things are very valid.
Yeah.
But that does come with a cost, and
Yeah.
it needs to be weighed. And it does enter into a partnership with the state, and we haven't had great experience in partnerships with the state. But certainly conceptually, it's something the Energy Committee has been very enthusiastic about and has worked very hard at. And so we look forward to the discussion. Yeah.
So that again, November 14th at the junior high school. It'd be good to get a good showing there, and I think we'll have some transfers. We've got some money coming back from KP as part of the budget process. We've got we're talking about putting some money into the stabilization fund. I know that's always near and dear to your heart.
Near and dear to my heart. Jack and his department heads always do an incredible job in terms of managing their budgets. And sometimes, to our chagrin, he always seems to underestimate our revenues, which we occasionally push back at. But this year has been another good year in terms of reserves turned back to the town. I believe the certified free cash is a little over $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And while the board hasn't made a decision, so I can't speak for the board, I will speak for me. I would certainly encourage us putting a good chunk of that into the stabilization fund and getting that fund, which I think right now is in the $1.6, $1.7 million range, and getting it up, if not close to, up to around $2 million. And an all-time high for Norfolk, and will bode well for us. That's our rainy day account. Things do go wrong that we don't expect, and building those reserves up has been a real goal of the entire Board of Selectmen for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And S&P was recently in. I certainly talk about it because it's the world I lived in for 35 years, but came in to evaluate the town, and they use a rating system. We're a AA+, which for a town our size is exceptionally good. And they reaffirmed that rating. I'm always kind of pushing that we could get it a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think
a little bit higher.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah. So getting more money into the stabilization fund is nothing but good news to the town. It allows us to borrow at a much lower rate, but more importantly than anything else, it gives us the financial security to meet an unforeseen issue, which always seems to happen. Kind of like a hurricane, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, that would be good. And Todd Lindmark, I give him credit too for getting the balance sheet done and getting the free cash certified, and certainly helping. Todd's
done. I'll add to the commercial on that. Tad has done a great job. It's it's always nice to have Norfolk residents participate in town government because, you know, they care and they live here. We all care for the town, and there's just something special, as you do. You live here. But Todd has really jumped into the job full bore. I know you've promoted him to head of the department, and much deserved. So.
Yeah, and he and I, you know, we talked about, this is the first time he went through the S&P process, and so we've got, I think he's coming up with a good strategy to help get us to the next level.
You know, having been through a bunch of them in my prior world, they can be intimidating.
Yeah, they're not,
You know, and I'm sure that the experience will bode well for him.
Yeah, that's, you know.
And you started the budget process?
We did. We've started the budget for FY19, believe it or not.
I know. Where does the time go?
I started on FY3, and now we're on 19.
We started together on FY3.
We did, yeah.
Where has the time gone?
Where is the time gone? So we've you know, the department heads are already, you know, starting to plan for next year, and I know you and I and Todd actually all attended a meeting with the representatives from the other towns.
Yep.
Start to, you know, let you.
One of my favorite topics these days, I guess, but I think most people know that last year was somewhat of a difficult year for King Philip. Certainly the public relations component of it didn't go well. So a lot of people have stepped forward to try and make sure that doesn't happen again, but not in a negative way, in a positive way. Stepping forward and trying to help the school work through some of the public relations issues that they have, but more importantly, strategically, how to position the school better to deal with these issues, because finances are always going to be on the table for everybody. There's a wonderful community group headed up by a number of Norfolk residents that's been very active, dealing not only on the financial side, but also the public relations and the strategic side. Then there's a smaller group that you and I have participated in, which is one representative from each board, from each town. So it's a non-quorum kind of environment. We've met once and we're meeting again another 2 weeks, I guess, right around 2 weeks. Kind of dealing with the same thing, but not so much strategically, but more how King Philip can more effectively communicate with us, simplify the budget process so it's more understandable to everybody. Not everybody likes budgets like you and I do. Most people don't. And a public relations component of that, but also some more predictability about what the three towns can afford. And rather than starting with this traditional 10, 12% that we all know has no toe in reality, and working your way down, let's start with a number that we all can agree on, it can be realistically funded, and see what that does to the school, and see how they can manage within that realm. And if for some reason it has a legitimately devastating impact, share that. And you know, so that there's an understanding of the need and an understanding of why those funds need to be increased. And so we're all working hard to kind of bring that all together at the early stages of the process, so that we end up in a more favorable environment than we did last year. Because you know, there are schools, and ultimately it's all about the kids. And but you have to pay for it, and we have to create the right process. And this is not implying any blame at all. It's just that we need to rethink how we go through this, and a lot of good people working on it. Yeah,
no, it'll be great. It's, you know, and I've talked to the selectmen about this before over the years. You know, the budget for Norfolk is you know, there's a lot of complexity to it, but it's a relatively repeatable process.
Right.
Until we get to the King Philip, you know, process, and then you add the politics of the other two towns and KP into the mix, and that's the biggest challenge of our budget, and not only financially but politically. And so I think this is going to be, you know, this will not only help King Philip with their public relations, but it will help us with our budget process.
Yeah,
as well.
and I think you've said the magic word. I think the budget process over the last 3 or 4 years has become more political than practical.
Yeah.
And both from the town's perspective as well as the school's perspective. And it's almost like everybody has to engage in the game. And it's a total waste of time.
Yeah.
Hopefully the other two towns, I mean, Norfolk has always been and I'm not suggesting the other towns aren't, but I think we've been more financially positioned to support KP perhaps than the other towns have. And that's understandable. Yeah, I mean, everybody has to spend within their means. But the formula makes it 10 times worse, because the two considerations in terms of property values, wealth factor, things of that nature that skew the formula, we really don't know how that all shifts out. So we could all agree on a 3 or 4% increase, and one town may get 6, another town may get 1, another town may get 3. I mean, it's very difficult for people to really project exactly what it'll end up like. But at least starting with a common 3 or 4 will be a head start.
Yeah, I would agree.
So we'll talk more about that as it goes on, I think, because it is an important topic, and we're all working hard on it.
Yep. And I'm meeting with KP superintendent tomorrow, along with the other 2 town administrators. So that kind of starts our process. It'll be kind of parallel with the process that you and I are going through with the elected officials and the other town administrators.
Yeah.
And I think you said it already, but I just want to make sure people know that, and then we bring KP into the towns get together and kind of compare notes, and
right.
then we bring KP into the fold as well.
Yeah, and we're bringing the community group in too, which I've been a removed part of that. They've kept me informed, but I've seen the work that they're doing and how they're thinking through some of the considerations. Incredibly bright people working incredibly hard with the cooperation of the school committee and the administration, and it made a lot of headway. I think we're going to invite representatives from that group to our meeting after we get through the early stages of our understanding of where each town is, because it's important that we all row in the same direction. Their efforts are very much appreciated and well directed and well intended, and they need to know where the towns stand financially, because clearly that plays a role in how they play out their strategic initiatives. So we want to bring them into the process as well. So, and I really want to thank the folks that are heading that up. If I mention names, I know I'll leave someone out, so I won't do that. But they've been very active, and Norfolk's played a critical role in that.
Yeah, that's been good. So one of the other things we want to talk about was the public safety projects. We've got the 2 projects really going on. We've got the police station down in Shire Park, which is up behind Provo's or behind Eaglebrook. I could say Dunkin' Donuts.
Don't leave out Dunkin' Donuts.
I will not. And then of course we've got after that project is done, which is still scheduled to finish next summer, end of June, then we will begin in earnest working on converting the current public safety building into the fire station. And I say in earnest because we have already started there, as I'm sure most people, if not everybody, has already noticed. We've taken down some trees.
Anybody that's been down Main Street, I would think.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. So many trees are lost in the process, but that is has been part of the plan for a long time to take those down, and we've got some ledge to take out, but eventually those will be where the new bays go. We're building some new bays to the right of the building.
As you look at it.
As you look at it from the road, and that'll house the larger equipment. We'll keep the old bays on the other side for mostly housing the smaller equipment, the ambulances and fire chief's car. So we're trying to do those what we can over at the current public safety building. Kind of when we have the ability to do so, in I don't want to say our free time, but in between doing all the bids and all that stuff, it does take up a lot of time. So so we have people working on that. We're trying to get as much prep work done so that when we get done with the police station, we can bring we'll go out to bid again for the general contractor, and he can start in earnest, as I said, over on the
Yeah, and it's also motivated for financial considerations. Yep. If we include all of that site work as part of the bid process, then we get the general contractor who layers on a cost to the subcontractor, and as you can see, it just dominoes on down. So by using the pre-bid contracts that our DPW holds, which have gone all through the public bid process, and this is a public facility, we can use those folks who are to do some of the work preliminarily. It's still fair wage and bid process. I don't want anyone to suggest it's not, because it is. It's just not part of the bid project that we will put out to a contractor. And it saves us money.
Yeah.
You and your folks, I wasn't on the school, you were. You did the same thing over there. Mm-hmm. And we're doing the same thing at the police station. So it does save us some money.
Yeah. And then so the police station project, if you haven't been down around Sharon Ave, there's not a whole lot to look at right now, although from what it looks like is we've taken a couple steps backwards as they as they strip the building, and we're down to mostly the steel.
Yeah.
But they've been doing a lot of the subterranean, or the underground work,
The pipe, the wiring, all that
piping
good
and
stuff.
all that
yeah.
stuff. So that's been a lot of the work going on.
I went down there and it was funny because you drive down and there's a roof and no walls, basically. But they were putting up different walls, different siding on it. But it is strange to just see a roof.
Yeah. But we have the same general contractor that just finished the Foxborough new town hall, and Foxborough's been very happy with that.
Yeah.
So, and we've been very happy with Mike Cresta and Cresta Construction. They've been doing a great job so far, so knock on wood, hopefully they keep it up. And
and of course I think folks do know that regional dispatch is going in there as well. So we've really got two projects going on down there, independent of each other but connected.
Very connected.
So,
and we did receive another grant, the State 911 grant. The Metacomet did, so another I think $1.4 million. So we need one more grant next spring to just finish up buying some of the equipment, but we've got all the money for construction now, and we talk about our partnerships with the state, and I would agree with you 100%. We've had some, on again, off again relationships, but the relationship with State 911 has been awesome, and they've really got us heading in the right direction. So.
I was down in, I didn't share this with you, Mr. Hathaway, but I was down in Hingham on some other business, and I dropped in on the Regional Dispatch Center.
On the Shrek.
And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is, and they love it.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
And the thing that I know you and I have talked about, but the thing that they kept stressing is it just has increased their response, their capabilities, the redundancies. It's just night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one seller for me, and I think I've been trying to push to people is, instead of having one person at a desk and you could all of a sudden get 7 calls, you've got a team of 3, 4, 5 people, depending on the time of day, who all can take those calls and share the workload. So
and they know where everybody is in all towns.
Yep.
So if you're a Norfolk resident up near the Franklin line and you have a crisis and there's a a Franklin police officer closer, they can dispatch that officer. So it just is, money aside, and I know you think that over time it'll save us some money, and I hope you're right.
Yep.
I'd love to see that too, but just the fact that it increases our ability to keep people safe makes every bit of this worthwhile to me. It's just thrilled that we got it done.
Yeah, no, and you think, I know people probably don't want to hear me drone on about this, but you think about like that example you talked about. Instead of having to call our dispatch, our police officer call our dispatcher call the Franklin dispatcher call the Franklin police officer. That's all happening,
one and done.
Just seamlessly.
One and done.
It's good stuff.
We probably are being a little repetitive in this, but there's nothing more important than public safety, and so. Yeah, it's one of those hidden jewels that hopefully no one will ever have to use. That's one of those things where you just hope no one ever has to call 911. But when you need it,
if you're here long enough, we've all used it a little bit.
When you need it, you want it to work, so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
I think the last big thing we wanted to talk about was the housing production plan.
Yeah.
You've been working hard on that one.
We're pretty much done. There's the good news. We started this project about 4 months ago. We've had 2 public input sessions, one in July, if I recall, and one just a couple of weeks ago, where anyone in the community was invited to come in and they weren't the same type of meeting, they were sequential, if you will. We took what we learned in the first meeting and added it on to the second meeting. And people had a chance to give their input as to what our action plans are, what our goals are, different strategies. We got a lot of good input. I always wish more people would attend, but we're grateful for the people that did come. The consultants put that all together now. The draft will be going out to the Planning Board and the Board of Select. Well, actually, the Municipal Affordable Trust, which is directing this, will have a copy of it Monday, I believe. Monday or Tuesday. I believe we meet Tuesday. So we'll have the final review of it on Tuesday. Then it'll be sent out to the 2 boards. And then on October 10th or 11th, I've forgotten which day it is.
10th, I believe.
We have a joint meeting of the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen. Both boards need to have a majority vote to approve it. I'm anticipating that will happen. And then it will be electronically, the town will then electronically submit it to the state. If they want a hard copy, I'll personally drive it in. It'd be my pleasure. And then the clock starts for us. And I know there's a lot of, and there was a lot of discussion that evening, yes, we've got 40Bs in town, and no, we have never qualified for safe harbor. But part of the process of 40Bs that some folks may or may not know is that there are time restrictions on how long the ZBA has to make decisions on these projects, and that's 180 days. So once they open the hearings, they have to take a vote for all intents and purposes on either approving or denying the project within that 180 days. So and we have 2 40B projects that will expire, that 180 days will expire this calendar year. And Safe Harbor runs on calendar years. So I believe both of them are the 180-day time frame is in either late November or early December. I may be a little off, but
Yeah, I know it's the end of the
I know it's before the end of the year. So we're not promoting or not promoting one project versus another. We have no say in how the ZBA will go forward. But what we are trying to ensure is that whenever those decisions come forward, we've got our plan in place with the state so that when those affordable units and the ZBA, should it approve a project, they count. If we didn't get this plan until after the first of the year, then anything that was approved in December, we never get to count.
Yep.
And so that's why the urgency. We don't want to lose the opportunity should there be opportunities to count affordable units prior to the end of the year. Yeah. It'd be foolish not to. I mean, we'd be derelict in our responsibility not to do that. And I think some folks have implied that means we're trying to push a project through, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. Not an inkling of that. We have no say, but we do know that the ZBA has no choice. Yep. They have to close the hearings within 180 days. And we know when those 180 days are up. So we're just simply doing the math.
Yep.
And doing our very best to make sure that we don't lose any opportunity that may or may not come forward. Again, I'm not judging the pro or cons of any project, but we want to be prepared whatever the results may be. Yep. So, and this consultant's been great.
Yep, she has been.
If I can, one more thing on this, because there's been a lot of passion around this project. It's been a very educational process for the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about the town we live in. And when we started this process, the consultant gave us 2 choices. She said, do you want to put together a plan that we can get into the state that'll be certified and it will protect you from 40Bs? Is that what your goal is? And we said, yeah, we want that. He said, but if you do a little bit more work and do a little bit more time, you can come up with a meaningful document that'll be a roadmap for your community. And that's the choice we made. That, if we're going to go through this, let's develop a plan that future boards will have a document that will provide them some good data, some good information, spell out some of the needs and strategic strategies that might fulfill those needs. It's a working document, not just something to placate the state of Massachusetts, but becomes a working document. Planning Board's been working on an economic development plan. And our master plan, I think, was last updated in 2007. I believe it was 2007. Well, now, to update our master plan, we've got 2 critical components updated in place that will provide a good foundation to take the old master plan and build a new master plan that reflects what Norfolk is today, not what it was in 2007. So all of this work, there's more to come. Yep. And this provides a really good foundation for us. Sorry to kind of go on
No,
this,
that's okay.
but
that's fine.
It's a piece that I think folks don't see sometimes, that, well, it's just another state requirement. It's a lot more than that. Yeah. It's a lot more than that. And it's a public document. Once it gets filed, I encourage people to, I assume we can put it on the webpage or something. Oh, yeah. Take a look at it, read it. You probably won't agree with everything that's in there. I mean, you'll see strategies. And by the way, the strategies aren't required. They're just strategies that we can use. You don't get passing grades or failures if you do or don't do it. But it's a very good document.
Yeah. Oh, it's it.
Sorry to go on that, but
No, I've seen some drafts of it, and
Yeah.
I know you mentioned the economic development plan, and obviously the working towards the master plan. The other one that we've Ray worked on, and some of us, including recreation, worked on in the last couple of years is the open space plan. So we've got that
Yep.
recently finished as well. So we've got we've updated a bunch of our required and important documents that will lead to the master plan. So it should all be good.
Yep.
So I know you asked too about how the King Philip sports are doing. So I wanted.
I would never pass up the opportunity. How's the field hockey team?
Field hockey team is doing very well.
Good.
Thank you for asking.
Good.
So,
good. I hear they have a reasonably decent coach.
They have an excellent coach. I believe one of the best coaches in the state, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
As you know, my wife is the
coach.
My wife Elizabeth is the coach. So the team is off to a 7-0-0 start. So
Nowhere to go but down, huh?
nowhere to go. They got to play Mansfield this week, and then they play Franklin Monday night. They are actually doing a raise up for Ryan night. A young man, muscular dystrophy at King Philip. They're doing a night for him. He's going to do the announcements for the night. He's been doing the announcements for a couple of years at the basketball games.
That's great.
Great young man. This is a fundraiser to help him and his family pay for some medical bills. So that will be this Monday night. And on top of that, we get to play Franklin, and hopefully that'll be the night.
There's no rivalry there.
That'll be the night that we clinch a playoff berth. So
and hockey season's only a month and a half away.
Yep.
And I have high hopes for the hockey team.
Football team is doing very well.
Yep.
They're off to a 2-0 start. Both soccer teams have they started off quick, and then I think they've had a couple of setbacks, but they're both up in the number 2, 3 spots in the Hawk. So
well, congratulations to the team.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that they're carrying the coach.
yeah, it's nice to see.
All good teams do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I want to thank Katie Woodhams for our sitting in as our director, manager, editor, everything today. So thank you, Katie, and thank you, Jim, for being here. And
Thank you, Jack. Always a pleasure.
We'll be back in a month. So thank you again, and have a great day, everybody.